It was a quiet morning at the local diner, a small but cozy establishment that many locals frequented. Sarah, a waitress in her mid-20s, worked the breakfast shift with a smile on her face, though her eyes betrayed the exhaustion from her long hours. She had a small dream of one day going to college and starting a new life, but with bills piling up and her rent increasing every month, it seemed impossible. That morning, the diner had its usual mix of regulars. Then a man entered wearing sunglasses and a simple hoodie. He didn't stand out much in the crowd, though his aura was unmistakable. Sarah didn't think twice about it. This was just another customer to take care of. She led him to a table in the back and handed him a menu, offering her usual friendly greeting. "What can I get for you today?" she asked, ready to take his order. The man looked up, revealing a familiar face, though Sarah didn't recognize him immediately. His eyes twinkled as he smiled back at her. "Just a coffee for now, please. Black." Sarah scribbled the order on her pad, completely unaware of who she was talking to. "Got it," she said, and walked off to the kitchen, carrying the same routine she had every morning. Unbeknownst to her, the man she had just served was none other than Elon Musk, the tech mogul and CEO of SpaceX and Tesla. But he wasn't looking for any special treatment. Just a cup of coffee and some peace. The diner was the perfect escape from his hectic world, a place where no one would recognize him. As Sarah continued serving the other customers, she glanced at him a few times. Something about his quiet demeanor seemed different from the usual crowd, but she didn't think much of it and carried on with her work, eager to get through the shift. As the morning rush began to die down, Sarah finally had a moment to check in on the lone customer at the back table. She walked over to refill his coffee, still unaware of who he was. "How's everything?" she asked with a smile. The man looked up from his phone and met her gaze. There was a glint of amusement in his eyes, as if he were waiting for her to realize something. "Everything's perfect, thank you," he replied, his tone calm and friendly. Just then, a nearby regular, noticing the exchange, leaned over and whispered to Sarah, "Do you know who that is?" "That's Elon Musk." Sarah froze, her heart racing. She turned back to look at the man, and this time the pieces clicked into place. His face, his mannerisms. It all made sense. She was standing in front of one of the most famous and influential men in the world, and she hadn't even recognized him. Her mind raced. Should she ask for a selfie? Should she treat him differently now that she knew who he was? But no. She reminded herself that she was there to do her job, not to treat customers differently just because of who they were. After a few minutes, Sarah returned to the table, the bill in hand. She set it down, still processing the fact that the man she had been serving was none other than Elon Musk. Trying to maintain her professional demeanor, she offered a friendly smile. "Here you go. Just let me know if you need anything else." Instead of just taking the bill, Elon looked up at Sarah, his eyes gleaming with a sense of curiosity. He motioned for her to sit down. "You know," he said, his tone casual, "I've been watching you for a while. You're really good at what you do. You have this energy that makes the whole place feel different." Sarah blinked in surprise, not expecting such an observation. She had always tried to do her job well, but compliments from customers were rare. "Thank you," she replied, a bit flustered. "I just try to do my best, you know. It's not always easy, but I try to stay positive." Elon leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "I get it. Life can be tough, but sometimes it's the hard times that push us to do our best. You've got a drive, I can tell. And it's that kind of spirit that makes all the difference." For a moment, Sarah didn't know how to respond. She wasn't used to talking to anyone, let alone someone as famous as Elon Musk, about her dreams and struggles. She just nodded, trying to maintain composure. "I appreciate that. It's been hard, but I've got to keep going." Elon smiled warmly. "That's the attitude. Keep pushing forward. Whatever you do, just don't stop. Your story hasn't been written yet." Sarah felt a sense of gratitude, a quiet sense of encouragement from a man who had no reason to care about her struggles. He was a billionaire, an icon, and yet here he was, offering her words of wisdom that felt genuine. As Sarah cleared the last table, she noticed Elon had finished his coffee and was preparing to leave. She approached him to pick up his bill, expecting him to just pay and head out like any other customer. But when she picked up the check, her eyes widened in disbelief. The tip Elon Musk left her wasn't just generous, it was astonishing. The amount written on the bill far exceeded what most people could even dream of receiving as a tip. Sarah blinked, trying to wrap her head around the number. Was it a mistake? Did he mean to leave such an enormous amount? No, it was real. The check was for $10,000. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She had always struggled to make ends meet, juggling long shifts to pay for college and basic expenses. This kind of tip was beyond anything she could have imagined. She slowly turned the check over, and on the memo line, Elon had written something that made her eyes sting. For your dreams, keep going. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she stared at the note. She wasn't sure how to process what was happening. A part of her wanted to shout in joy, while another part was overwhelmed with disbelief. This tip wasn't just money, it was an investment in her future. A clear acknowledgement that someone, somewhere, believed in her. She glanced at Elon, who was already standing by the door, preparing to leave. His smile was small but knowing, as if he understood the impact his gesture would have. Sarah quickly wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself, but the shock still lingered. The diner was abuzz when Sarah shared the unbelievable story with her coworkers. Everyone gathered around, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Some of the regulars couldn't believe it, others were envious. But no one could deny that Elon Musk had done something truly extraordinary. Did that really just happen? One of the cooks asked, staring at the check in awe. Sarah just nodded, still in shock. I don't even know how to explain it. It's a lot more money than I've ever seen in my entire life. Her coworkers were equally speechless, but they all agreed on one thing. Elon Musk had done something that few, if any, billionaires would do. He had seen her. He had seen the struggles she faced, the dreams she held, and he had chosen to give her something that would change her life forever. In the days that followed, Sarah used the money to enroll in a local college. For the first time in her life, she felt like the weight of her financial worries had been lifted, replaced by a sense of hope and excitement. She could focus on her studies, pursue her dreams without the constant fear of being unable to pay for them. But it wasn't just the money that stayed with her. It was the message Elon had sent, through his tip and the note that accompanied it. For your dreams, keep going. Those words became her mantra, a reminder that no matter how hard life got, there was always a chance to turn things around. Sarah's story continued to spread like wildfire across social media, catching the attention of people around the world. The story of Elon Musk's unexpected generosity wasn't just another headline. It was a reminder that even in a world dominated by wealth and power, small acts of kindness could leave lasting marks on people's lives. It wasn't just about the $10,000 or the tip. It was the belief behind it. The idea that someone with so much could see someone with so little and choose to make a difference. News outlets began calling Sarah for interviews, wanting to hear more about the moment she realized what had happened. She spoke openly, sharing the details of that day, the shock she had felt when she first saw the amount on the check, and the impact it had on her life. She explained how Elon's note, for your dreams, keep going, had resonated deeply within her, providing a sense of hope that she hadn't felt in years. Sarah's social media following grew exponentially as more people were inspired by her story. Many of them shared their own experiences of struggling to make ends meet, of dreams that seemed impossible to achieve, and of how one person's kindness had reignited their own sense of possibility. She became a symbol of resilience and hope, someone who was determined to prove that even the most challenging circumstances could be overcome with the right mindset and support. It wasn't just the money that had changed Sarah's life. It was the opportunities that followed. With the $10,000, she was able to cover her tuition for the next semester and still had enough to invest in textbooks and school supplies. She was no longer bound by the limitations of working long shifts just to scrape by. Sarah was now free to focus on her education, to take the next step toward her dreams without the crushing weight of financial stress holding her back. As Sarah walked into her first day of college, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The campus, once an intimidating place she thought she could never afford, now felt like a space where she truly belonged. She was surrounded by students who shared her aspirations, professors who believed in her potential, and an environment that encouraged growth. It was a world of possibilities that she hadn't dared to imagine just months ago. Her story began to inspire others on campus too. Sarah started receiving messages from students, many of whom had faced their own financial hardships. They reached out to thank her for sharing her journey and for reminding them that success wasn't always about how much money you had. It was about the passion, determination, and willingness to never give up. As Sarah continued her studies, she didn't forget the lesson Elon Musk had unknowingly taught her. It wasn't just about being given a chance. It was about how she would use that chance to better herself and eventually help others. She realized that someday she might be in a position to help others who were struggling, just like she had been. The ripple effect of that single extraordinary act of kindness extended far beyond Sarah's own life. It sparked conversations about the power of empathy and generosity, reminding people that no matter how much wealth or success someone achieved, the greatest legacy one could leave behind was the positive impact they had on others. Sarah knew that her journey was just beginning. She now had the resources, the support, and most importantly, the belief in herself to succeed. And with every step she took forward, she carried with her the kindness of a stranger, one that had changed her life forever.